Hey friends, greetings from Cheripo. This is the tallest mountain in Costa Rica, one of the tallest in Central America. I'm not at the top, I'm not going to the top today, but I'm about 7,200 feet up, or 60, so I don't know, around 7,000 feet. So I've actually been running today, doing a mixture of some running and some hiking. But as most of you may have guessed, I am of course barefoot. And I wanted to talk a bit about barefoot hiking. I did a video on barefoot running, and I haven't really talked too much about barefoot hiking. Now, I only started going barefoot a little less than a year ago. Of course, I've been on beaches barefoot and that kind of stuff, but what happened was when I moved to Colorado, I started hiking a lot and I really loved it, but something was missing. I didn't know what it was. And then when the pandemic hit and I was in Boulder and not really going anywhere, and there were trails right by my house, I started hiking a lot. And what I noticed really quickly is something deep within me said, hey, buddy, get your damn shoes off. So I took my shoes off, put them in the ground, and at first it was slow, I would do like parts of hikes barefoot. And suddenly something happened where I just had no interest in going in my shoes again, in my hiking shoes. And I was like, this is amazing. So I started going more and more barefoot, started talking to more and more people, getting them into barefoot. I have so many friends now that go barefoot and that love it. You got to be careful. I do not advise filming videos while doing this. But one thing that I started to really appreciate was when your feet are on the ground, you're connected to nature. There's so much communication going on between the bottom of your foot and the earth. So when we wear hiking shoes, well, I'm not here to say don't wear hiking shoes, but when we wear hiking shoes, they disconnect us from our primal senses. So what happens is I can actually hike a lot longer, I can run a lot longer barefoot. And again, at first it took me time to really get into this space where it wasn't painful, where I wasn't tired and blah, blah, blah. But it didn't actually take that long. Within a few months, I was just completely barefoot, going on long 8-9 mile treks and feeling great the whole time. Sometimes my feet would be sore after, but anytime when people hike in shoes, their feet get sore and blistered. My feet never get fungus. They don't smell. They smell amazing. They never smell bad. I don't have to worry about socks anymore. But really, I think the best part is that, if you do any research into grounding, and there's a lot of science and whatnot around this, but grounding is the process. I'm not talking about like I just need to be grounded, I'm not grounded, but the actual process of grounding is putting your feet in the ground. And we're so disconnected that some people go their whole lives and don't even put their actual feet in the ground. And we store so much energy. So it's kind of a way to, when we ground ourselves and we put our feet in the ground, it's actually a way to release all of that energy. Otherwise it just sits stagnant. People deal with inflammation and joint pain and all that stuff. And I'm not saying there's the one cure-all fits all, but there's a great book called Earthing. This guy, actually a Colorado dude, discovered this whole process. He used to work for the phone lines, and he realized that and TV lines and power lines and stuff, and we need grounding cables, otherwise a lot of electrical charges can build up and there can be a lot of issues with that, like when you plug in something in the wall. That's why there's those 3 prongs, one's for grounding. And he's like, I wonder if humans are the same. And he started doing all this research and found that yes. And so he started working with like older people that were dealing with a lot of joint pains, and like his mom, who was like in her 90s, who couldn't even walk. He started grounding her, and it sounds ridiculous, but suddenly she was able to walk again and play tennis and amazing and all this stuff. So just that alone, it's hard to explain. You can look at the science of it, but to me, one of the best parts is that I just feel better. Actually, being able to run, I did a half marathon in the trails barefoot, and I used to not be a runner, and I was able to run for like what felt like forever, not even get that tired, and I felt great doing 13 miles. And I do attribute a lot of it to actually being barefoot, because it's more natural. Your body doesn't have to use as much energy, because just the amount of energy that it takes, I've come to see, just from wearing shoes that aren't really meant to be on your feet, that don't really fit properly. And there's good options out there now. There's more minimalist shoes, there's barefoot shoes, there's the Vivo 5 fingers, there's sandals you can run in. There are better options now. So if you're not ready to go barefoot, that's a good transition. And very, very occasionally, usually just when I'm forced to, I put on these very thin sandals. But I've tried running in sandals and different things. Actually, since I started running barefoot, I have not run in anything but these really thin sandals and earth runners. Only a couple times, mostly barefoot. But what's really beautiful about hiking barefoot is even though yes, there's risks and you can step on things and you need to be really careful and dropped in, you do just get more present to your senses. And there's this really cool thing about your feet that a lot of people don't know, and I didn't discover until much more recently, is that your feet have more nerve endings than anywhere else in your body, as far as I know. And granted, my dad and sister are both podiatrists, they're both foot doctors. That's not where I learned that from. But your feet are incredibly sensitive, and when we put them in a shoe and like this rubber sole, think about Beal's rubber sole. Think about the word just like metaphorically, rubber sole. If your sole is this pure natural thing, and then you have a rubber sole, the sole of your foot is rubber, it's false, it's fake, it's made by some big brand, well, you are completely disconnected, right? And so when we take our shoe off and we actually step into the ground, because we have so many nerve endings and we have so much sense in our feet, first off, yes, as I said earlier, you're constantly communicating. The ground is continually communicating with your foot, letting you know how to stand, how to walk. But what's really cool, and this you especially notice when you're running, is that you'd think like if you run and you step on something sharp, that of course nails, glass, that's a bit of a different case, although it still works as you learn. But you'd think that if you step on like a sharp, jagged rock, that it would just like destroy your foot. And when I first ran, that would be the case, and sometimes I still step on things that do hurt. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't happen. But what happens now is, because my feet are so sensitive, nerve endings and communication, it's so fast. It's like if I were to be running and I were to step on something sharp, instead of just smashing my foot into the ground, the second it touches that sharpness, it sends a signal to my brain telling me to brace. So when I run, if I go to step on something sharp, my body braces. Instead of putting all my impact on that sharp place, instantaneously my foot braces, and then I have a lot less impact. And in general, you learn actually how to run a lot lighter on your feet, which is another thing. People think your feet just get super strong and tough, and my feet are callous and they're awesome. But it's actually more so about the softness of the running and learning how to just really relax your body so you're not putting that much impact. And a lot of runners that have problems with their knees, it's because they put in so much impact. They're heel striking, and that's a big deal. So anyhow, if you're interested in barefoot hiking or running, start small. Take your shoes off and just go for a little run or a little hike or something, and just see how you feel. And you can start on a trail like this trail. I'd say is oh, look at this. Oh my god, what are you kidding me? Let me turn this off. This trail is more advanced. It's not like super advanced, but maybe it's an intermediate trail. I wouldn't suggest going on something barefoot necessarily like this to start, but start on a trail that's easier. Maybe one doesn't have too much incline. Start on grass. Just like if you're not used to putting your feet in the ground, people are like, I can't even put my feet in the grass. You're like, okay, well, understand that over time that's going to change. I couldn't do this either. And what's crazy is I only started running 2 months before I did my half marathon, and I did it at about a little over 7.5 minute pace. It took me an hour and 38 minutes, and about 1,300 feet incline, I believe, total. And I felt great. I wasn't tired and all those things, but it's not because I'm cool or special. It's because it's so much easier to run when we get back to our natural state. Our body, another thing that's really cool is the fascia in our body is amazing. So the fascia, without getting too deep into it, is basically what covers your muscles. And what happens is if your fascia is really tight, and it's not hydrated and it's not loose, it keeps your body in a certain way, but you can change that, you can shift that. So naturally, like, we have this thing that is surrounding our muscles that I believe, like, from a much deeper level, wants to be free and pure, but we're crammed into shoes and we're crammed into desks and we're looking down at cell phones and all these things that it takes time to like lift all those barriers. But once you lift the barriers, it's actually not that hard. It only took me 2 months to get in shape to run a half marathon barefoot. So that's like just one of the benefits. And I'm not here to say that there's any perfect way to do it. A lot of the hiking and the running, it's like your body just naturally over time shows you like what it needs, and that's what makes us so unique and individual. We're all connected and we're all one on like kind of a spiritual cosmic level, but in these physical bodies we all have our unique journey. So I can share what works for me, but what I do know is only that the more I tune in to myself, the more I tune into nature, the more I'm doing these walks, these runs, the more I just naturally feel comfortable. But it doesn't just happen overnight. You know, now when I run, it's like I'm a lot more loose, you know, so I don't have to deal with the same pains and things and that I was dealing with and even getting tired. But it takes time, and your body adjusts. If you're feeling like, okay, I have a little bit of pain in my hip, your body, if you just tune into it, instead of saying, oh, something's wrong, you just relax and you adjust, and it shifts and changes. Wow. Oh my God, come on. I'm gonna miss you, Costa Rica. Moving to Mexico for a few months, and then probably to New Mexico. Although we will see. This world is pretty unpredictable. Oh yeah, if you made it to this far in the video, check out my Patreon. Yeah. Also, I didn't think I would share this on YouTube, but I did start a TikTok page recently. Oh, wow, look at that. See, whenever you look down and you see berries, like so, chances are there are berries hiding around. These are blackberries, Costa Rican style. I did start a TikTok page, You Enjoy Life. I didn't think I would ever do that, and it sounds ridiculous, but I've actually been enjoying it more than any other social media platform. And I just had a video go kind of viral on there about being barefoot, so that was kind of a sign. I'm like, oh, I've been putting out YouTube videos for years, post Brothers Green, and, you know, decent whatever viewage, and then on there, it spread. So I'm gonna keep spreading the good barefoot gospel. I'm a barefoot shoesman, barefoot shoe salesman, barefoot shoesman, and yeah, love y'all, talk soon.